Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a completely fascinating chemistry journey into the fundamental building blocks of life itself. We're going to explore the very molecules that construct your muscles, dictate your moods, and, well, literally make you you. So let's jump right into the chemistry of life.
But before we look at what's going on inside your body right now, I want you to ponder a much, much older mystery. How did the building blocks of life first form on a desolate, lifeless planet? Seriously, how did the very chemicals that make up our bodies just emerge from the chaos of early Earth? It's a pretty profound question, and it perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to cover.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the spark of life, move into nature's building blocks, explore what they do beyond protein synthesis, break down essential versus non-essential, and finally, look at conditional dietary requirements.
Let's kick things off with part 1, the spark of life and primordial synthesis.
Okay, let's dive into this by looking at the famous 1953 Miller-Urey experiment. Scientists Harold Urey and Stanley Miller basically wanted to simulate the atmosphere of the early, completely lifeless Earth. So they took a mixture of simple gases, methane, ammonia, hydrogen, and water vapor. Then, to simulate primordial lightning storms, they added an electric spark. And the result? No way. They actually yielded real amino acids. Out of basic, non-living gases and a little electricity, the chemical Legos required for life spontaneously formed.
And as this perfectly highlights, amino acids played a key role in enabling life on Earth and its emergence. Honestly, without those simple experimental yields, those tiny molecular structures forming in the primordial soup, the complex biological evolution of every plant, animal, and human would have been entirely impossible.
Moving right along to part 2, nature's building blocks, covering the fundamentals.
So the absolutely crucial point is right here. An amino acid is an organic compound containing both an amino group and a carboxylic acid functional group. Think of these two groups as the connecting joints on a Lego brick. Because every single amino acid has these exact same two functional groups at its core, they have this universal way of linking together, regardless of what the rest of the molecule looks like.
Now, when two of these amino acids snap together, they form what's called a peptide bond. The amino group of one molecule links directly to the carboxyl group of its neighbor, and in the process, a molecule of water is released. This condensation reaction is the fundamental mechanism that allows individual amino acids to chain together into long polypeptides, which, eventually, fold into the complex proteins that do all the heavy lifting in our cells.
Now, here is a truly fascinating chemical quirk of amino acids. In the watery environment of our bodies, at a neutral pH, they exist as zwitterions. A zwitterion has an overall net charge of 0, but it isn't uncharged. It actually contains both a positively charged site and a negatively charged site simultaneously. Because water stabilizes separated charges, the amino acid happily balances a positive and negative pole, making it incredibly versatile in how it interacts with other molecules in our biology.
All right, let's turn the page to Chapter 3, Beyond Protein Synthesis, exploring their physiological roles.
You see, amino acids don't just build muscle, they literally dictate your human experience. For example, tryptophan is the direct precursor to serotonin, the neurotransmitter that regulates your mood and sleep. Tyrosine synthesizes dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, meaning it's responsible for your feelings of reward and your adrenaline rushes. Phenylalanine makes phenylethylamine. Glycine is used to synthesize porphyrins, like the heme that carries oxygen in your blood. And arginine creates nitric oxide, which relaxes your blood vessels. Your mood, your energy, your focus, it's all driven by these free-floating amino acids.
And get this, some amino acids skip the protein-building process entirely. Take gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. It's a non-proteinogenic amino acid. That means your body never uses it to build proteins. Instead, it acts directly as a primary inhibitory neurotransmitter in your brain, helping to calm your nervous system. It's an amino acid functioning purely as a messenger.
That brings us to Section 4, Essential versus Non-Essential, getting into dietary basics.
While there are literally hundreds of amino acids found out in nature, exactly 20 standard amino acids are encoded by the universal genetic code to build the proteins in our bodies.
And this brilliantly illustrates how our bodies manage these 20 building blocks by dividing them into two main categories, essential and non-essential. Non-essential amino acids are the ones your body can synthesize naturally from other compounds. If you don't eat them, no big deal, your body just manufactures them. But essential amino acids are a completely different story. The human body completely lacks the metabolic pathways to create them. You absolutely must obtain them directly from your food.
So there are 9 essential amino acids: histidine,
isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. If your diet lacks even one of these over a long period, your body simply cannot synthesize the proteins it needs to repair tissue, build muscle, or create those vital neurotransmitters we talked about earlier. This is exactly why consuming adequate protein is a mandatory part of human survival.
Finally, let's explore Section 5, Conditional Dietary Requirements, and what happens when the body needs more.
Conditional amino acids are those that your body can normally synthesize, but under specific circumstances, like certain ages, severe stress, or specific medical conditions, your body's demand just outpaces its ability to produce them. The metabolic synthesis pathways might be overwhelmed, or, in the case of children, simply not fully developed yet. This really matters because targeted nutrition can literally be the difference between health and severe deficiency.
Let's look at arginine and taurine, for example. They're classified as semi-essential because they're specifically needed in the diets of developing children whose bodies just can't make enough yet. Meanwhile, cysteine and tyrosine might become practically essential for adults facing certain serious medical conditions that disrupt their normal metabolic pathways. It shows that your dietary needs are highly dynamic, shifting with your age and overall health.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is looking at what's actually circulating inside of you right now. If we took a sample of human blood serum, the most common free-floating amino acids you'd find are glutamine, alanine, and glycine. Even though glutamate and glutamine might be the most frequent in the food you eat, your body metabolizes and transports them in a way that keeps this specific, highly regulated mix of alanine, glycine, and glutamine readily available in your bloodstream to fuel your cells.
Which brings us to a simple yet totally profound quote. The protein is broken down into its constituent amino acids in the process of digestion. Every single time you eat a meal, whether it's a piece of chicken, a bowl of beans, or a handful of nuts, you're performing a massive chemical disassembly operation. You are breaking down foreign proteins just to harvest their individual amino acid Legos, absorbing them into your blood, and reassembling them into human proteins. Pretty wild, right?
So, from the ancient primordial sparks that first forged these molecules out of basic gases, all the way to the complex chemistry powering your mood, your heartbeat, and your thoughts at this exact moment, we are entirely dependent on these chemical building blocks. The science is clear, the structures are beautiful, and the dietary need is absolute. So I leave you with this question to ponder. How will you fuel your building blocks today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.